Drake Powell officially declares for the 2025 NBA draft. This is terrible. This is great for North Carolina. Wait, which one is it?
This is Tyler Hansbrough, and you're listening to Locked On Tar Heels.
You are Locked On Tar Heels, your daily podcast on the UNC Tar Heels. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey there, what's up? It's Wednesday, April 23rd, 2025. Welcome into this live edition of the Locked On Tar Heels podcast, the only daily North Carolina show out there. I'm your host, Isaac Schade. You're joining me at the place to get your Tar Heels content every single day. It's all part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Special shout out to all the everydayers here with us, all the members of the Locked On Tar Heels Discord. We were literally just chatting in there. And of course, all our great Locked On Tar Heels insiders. Sorry, my daughter just tried to walk in the door. I got distracted. This episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at Monarch Money for 50% off your first year. Look, coming up on the show today, it's a pretty simple conversation. We've already had our Wednesday show. Coach Rob and I have already recorded the Thursday show. And after we recorded that, of course, this always happens this way. Drake Powell announced that he's entering the 2025 NBA draft. So if you're listening to this later on Thursday or you're watching it back on Thursday, make sure you go check out that episode as well. All the content still remains and makes a lot of sense. We actually talked about Jameer Watkins, who now is an even bigger factor than I would have previously thought. And so there will be all of that on that show. Would love for you to check it out. So the news came out on Wednesday afternoon. Drake Powell posted this on his Instagram. I'll read it to you. Tar Heel Nation, thank you for embracing and supporting me through the highs and lows of the past season. On and on and on and on and on. I don't want to bore you. You can read it. The last part, which is the most important, where the verbiage of all this matters in a big way. And that's why I want to read the last paragraph. However, competing at the highest level has always been the ultimate goal. This decision was nowhere near easy, but with the support and guidance of my family and coaches, I will be entering my name into the 2025 NBA draft. And so there you go. That was the announcement from Drake Powell that came out on Wednesday afternoon. And there's a couple things with that. While Joe Tipton, did tweet out that Drake is going in with the 100% focus on the NBA draft and the intention to stay in, there was literally nothing that precludes Drake from coming back. And you just need to hear that from me right now. This is a different day, it's a different age, and it's a different time, right? Like even as recent as 5-6 years ago, there would be the whole like entering and hiring an agent, and that meant you couldn't come back. And that is a previous era because now these guys can get paid already. And so like you're allowed to get agents and do things like that. And so you just need to know that there was nothing I just read in the post from Drake that said he cannot come back to school. Like you can be focused on the draft 100%. And you can go in and find out like, oh, okay, there are things I need to work on. I'm not finding out what I needed to find out about having a lottery guarantee or a first round guarantee. So I'm going to come back to school where I can make a whole crap ton lot more money. And I guarantee you, Carolina has a whole lot crap ton more money than he would get as a second round draft pick. And if you come back and boost yourself into the first round, that'd be great. I'm not saying that's what's going to happen. I'm just saying that is a possibility on the table. So before we lose our minds that Drake is definitely gone, we just need to keep all of that in mind. And I joked about it off the top. This is great for North Carolina. This is terrible. There is no pleasing people with any of this stuff. Here's what I mean. In this day and age where narrative is so important and the narrative that people share is so important, I feel like people complain when Carolina has one and dones and they don't go immediately to the draft. Elliot Cadeau, Ian Jackson, who's transferring out, right? Like people get upset about that. Like, oh man, this is bad for Carolina because we got the one and done, but they didn't go to the draft. Oh man, we didn't send them to the league. But on the flip side, in cases like this with Drake Powell, people complain when they don't stay. It's like, why can't we keep Drake Powell? Why won't he come back? Dadgummit. And I wish he would come back. Selfishly, I would love him to be a Tar Heel. But we can't complain about both of these things. At some point, we have to be We have to be able to be happy about something. The complaining culture, there's no winning. We have to be able to win at something. And so here's why it's like Drake going to the NBA draft could be a good thing for Carolina, and why it's like, that stinks. We can allow for both of these things to be true. At the selfish, like we wish he was still a Tar Heel level, yeah, that stinks. And it hurts North Carolina's ceiling for next season if he does not come back. So, it can be a good thing. If he tests and ultimately comes back, hey, plus. If he tests and stay in, you get to sell it if you're Hubert Davis as a success story. Look, Drake Powell rose through the rankings. I mean, think where he was just a couple years ago in the recruiting rankings. And now here he is as a first-round NBA draft pick. Nobody expected it. Look what we did with him. There are going to be people that are going to try to not celebrate that. It has to be celebrated. Because how often do you hear about North Carolina can't develop? North Carolina doesn't know what they're doing. Well, they just took Drake Powell and got him ready, and he went off to the draft. Why can't we celebrate that? So both things can be true. It hurts, and it's a good thing. Here's what you need to know about the early entry thing, right? So on Tuesday evening, the portal closed. That doesn't really have anything to do with Drake. On Saturday evening, about Thursday, Friday, Saturday, about 72 hours from now, the NBA early entry deadline will close. Drake has obviously beaten that deadline. But the question now turns to when does he have to announce whether he's staying in the draft or coming back to school? That's the thing people always ask about. And here's where the confusion comes in. People get confused about this every summer. So let me clear it up as I try to clear it up every summer. There are actually two different withdrawal deadlines. There is an NCAA early entry withdrawal deadline, and there is an NBA early entry withdrawal deadline. So the NCAA date is an earlier date. It's 10 days after the combine that you have to, if you want to maintain collegiate eligibility, you have to return to college before, or announce your return to college before that time, or you're not eligible. The NBA early entry withdrawal deadline, or the NBA, I guess I should say the NBA draft withdrawal deadline is 10 days before the draft. That's more for like international players who want to pull out. If a college player waits to pull out till that late, sorry about you. Your collegiate eligibility is done. So the key date we're looking at with Drake Powell is May 28th at 11:59 p.m. Eastern time. That is the NCAA early entry withdrawal deadline that we're watching for. And here's where I'm at on it. Like I've been asked quite a bit today, should Carolina move on? And try to get somebody, or should they wait on Drake and see what happens? Here's my take. The North Carolina staff needs to prepare as though Drake Powell is going to stay in the draft. He has said that's his intention. He's said that's what he's 100% focused on. So you got to prepare as though that's the reality, especially in this day and age where you're not building out a 4-year plan. You're literally building a roster for 2025, 2026. And like this might seem cold and shrewd and businesslike, but if Drake has made his decision and wants to go test out the draft waters, then Carolina has to make their decision and go put together the best basketball team they can for next season. So the staff needs to prepare as though Drake will stay in the draft while at the same time allowing for the possibility of a return to Chapel Hill next year. Both of those things can be true as well. That is so difficult and so nuanced in this era of the transfer portal. This wasn't something we dealt with years ago, right? Because there wasn't all the portability. And so if a guy decided to pull out of the NBA draft, we celebrated and hurrahed because you got a key roster piece back and now you're ready to go. The only other hope would be to add incoming freshmen or international players or something like that. And as I said that, like, hey, I would love for Drake to come back, but we'll see if he does or not. T-Man in the Locked On Tar Heels Discord asked me a great question that I honestly hadn't contemplated yet. He said, Isaac, with the idea of preparing for Drake staying in the draft, would that also include taking his potential NIL money and using it for someone else? Ooh, that's a tough part of this conversation, because yes, I mean, you can get as much money as you want, but it seems like teams' budgets are a finite amount. And so the money that Carolina has earmarked for Drake Powell's return, I don't think you can keep it earmarked for him. My gut reaction to that is, yes, that would include taking the money you had earmarked for him and using it to go land to someone else. Because while you would love to have Drake back, you've got to, again, build a successful basketball program for next year. And that means you got to get what you can get while you can get it. And what you can get right now is not Drake Powell. What you can get right now is somebody else in the transfer portal. And so that's what I'm going to go do. And obviously, Hubert Davis, Jim Tanner, everybody, they're going to have those conversations with Drake. And Drake's going to have to understand those. He's going to have to be aware of, like, all right, I get that. I know that you need to move on and look at other things. I remember Oscar Tshiebwe did this for Kentucky a couple years ago when he entered the NBA draft. And he said, look, don't wait around on me. Go out and look for other players. If I come back, we'll see if we can figure it out. And so that's the thing. Like, if Drake ultimately decides to come back and Carolina lands somebody, then you see if you can, like, all right, hey, attention, Rams Club, attention, Michael Jordan, anybody else out there who's got money. We went out and we landed player X, but now Drake wants to come back as well, and we already spent Drake's NIL money. Would you like to help fund the Drake Powell NIL money? I think you could pretty well find a bunch of Tar Heels that would like to get in on that. I think that's how you have to approach this. Use the money you've got to go get somebody, and if Drake decides to come back, you cross that bridge when you get to it. That's where I'm at on this thing. And one last thing before we take a break, and then we'll come back, is, as Joe Tipton said in his thing, that Drake is 100% focused on the draft. You can be 100% focused on the draft and still ultimately decide to come back. That, through the years, I've learned that to mean what I'm focusing on right now is tunnel vision on preparing for the draft, to do everything I can to prepare myself to get drafted. If I do all that and it's still not enough yet, so be it. I will turn around and come back to school. Like, that is, just because you're 100% focused on the draft doesn't mean you wind up staying in the draft. Do you catch the difference in the nuance there? That's how I read that. We've seen, and part of that is why Drake's timing is a bit odd to me. Because in this day and age, what we see a lot of guys do is they'll enter their name into the NBA draft and they'll enter the transfer portal at the same time, so that, let's say I go off and do all the NBA draft testing stuff, and then I decide to come back, but maybe my school has backfilled my position and the minutes aren't going to be there. Now I have entered the transfer portal and the opportunity for me to go elsewhere is available. Drake literally entered the NBA draft, or at least announced it, the day after the portal closed. And so he hasn't left himself that flexibility. So the hope for Drake now is staying in the NBA draft or coming back to Carolina, and hopefully my spot is still there. He hasn't allowed himself the flexibility that a lot of players have, like Boogie Fland. Oh, that's a great example, Isaac. Way to go, brain. Boogie Fland had declared for the NBA draft and literally yesterday entered the transfer portal so that he could allow himself the flexibility of staying in the draft, coming back to Arkansas, or transferring elsewhere. You see what I'm saying? Drake hasn't done that. I love it, because if he pulls out, he's coming back to Carolina. Well, the question is now, what happens next? What would the starting lineup look like if the season started today? And where does Carolina turn next? Who are they looking at? Those are the conversations and questions we'll answer coming up in just a second. Right after I tell you about Monarch Money. You ever check your bank account and wonder, hey, where did all my money go? Well, between dining out and online shopping and entertainment and everything else, it's easy to lose track. You're budgeting for summer travel now, right? And it's like, oh, we're taking this big family vacation. And as you budget and start looking at it, it's like all the money's gone before you know what hits you. Well, that's where Monarch Money comes in. It's your personal CFO giving you full visibility and control over all your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, your investments, and spending all in one place. So you stop just managing your money and you start building up your wealth. Instead of having to juggle multiple apps, what I love is that Monarch is a place where in one app, you can check your finances, you can track spending, and even plan out long-term goals. Another thing for me is that my wife and I, we want to make sure that we're always on the same page when it comes to finances. And thankfully, with Monarch Money, managing that money with my wife is smoother than ever. You can track shared accounts, you can track personal accounts, you can set goals, stay on the same page without all that usual stress. So go ahead, try it out. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. Again, that's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONCollege for half off your first year. Go ahead and check it out. Okay, I have pulled up, for those of you watching in real time, where the scholarship chart stands today. One thing you'll notice, and those of you listening to this instead of watching, you can go look at, I've got this chart up on my Twitter feed as well. Excuse me, quick drink here. Right now, I have left Ven-Allen Lubin on this scholarship list because here's why. Yes, he is in the transfer portal, but yes, he has also declared his intention to return to North Carolina. If that changes, I will take him off. I'm not going to include him in my starting five right now because I wouldn't have him in it anyway. But that's why I'm leaving him on my scholarship chart for now. You might vehemently disagree with that decision, but guess what? It's my scholarship chart and it's not yours. You want to feel differently? Go make your own scholarship chart. Boom. Okay. But I have taken Drake Powell off of it because if he does decide to come back, great. We'll gladly add his name right back in. But for right now, with his focus and intention on the draft and to stay in the draft, I thought it wise to take him off. So the question I asked myself on Wednesday afternoon was, Isaac, yes, Isaac, if the season started today, who would you roll with as your starting five? Well, Drake Powell's departure only changes one position right now, and that's the 3, the starting small forward. So my backcourt would still be Kyan Evans and Seth Trimble. I think I've gone on record as saying that with Kyan Evans being who Carolina has brought in as their point guard and all his high-level shooting, I think that opens the door for you to start Seth Trimble at the 2. The fear for me would have been if it was Elliot Cadeau and Seth Trimble. That's just not enough shooting in your backcourt. But with Evans, I think there is. And then let's skip over 3, and we'll come back to that. Let's go to the 5. At the 5, I believe it's Henry Vasar. Even if Ven-Allen decides to step back in and fully say, yeah, I'm in for this season, great, love it. You're the backup center. That's what I wanted for Ven-Allen Lubin all along anyway. And then the tricky question now is what happens at the 4 and the 3? I've been saying ever since Jae'lyn Stevenson committed to North Carolina that I cannot wait for the positional battle at the power forward spot, at the 4 spot, between Jae'lyn Stevenson and incoming freshman Caleb Wilson. If North Carolina doesn't add anyone else in the portal or through international recruiting or something else, I think that positional battle has just gotten a lot more easy. Why? Because as the roster stands today, I would start Jae'lyn Stevenson at the 3 and I would start Caleb Wilson at the 4. Ultimately, it's positionally changeable anyway, right? Like we can all recognize that. But on paper, at least, that's what I would do. That's not a foreign thing for Jae'lyn Stevenson. When Alabama came to the Dean Dome last year, he was the starting 3 with Grant Nelson at the 4 and with Cliff Omori at the 5, right? That was the starting lineup that Alabama was rolling out. So that's not a foreign concept. That's not playing him out of position. He can start at the 3. Now, that said, though, my hope is that Carolina does go out and land someone else. My hope also is that Drake Powell would come back. I would love for all of that to happen. Honestly, what I would love is for Carolina to go land someone else that could play the 3 and Drake Powell decide to come back. Ooh, that would be fantastic. So that's the what's next of this for me. Where does Carolina go from here? Well, with Drake Powell out the door, that's currently 11 scholarship level players on the roster. And yes, again, I'm including Ven-Allen Lubin in that until he says my intention is no longer to return to North Carolina. I would like to see Carolina go get a wing or 2. You know, recently I've been saying that what I would love for Carolina to get is a backup point guard in like a Nate Britt type of role, and or someone that is more shooting at the 2 or the 3 or even the 1, like a 1 who is also a high level shooter. I'm great with that. With Drake Powell's departure, my focus shifts from that to that 3 position, because right now I think it is Jaron Stevenson with a Jonathan Powell probably backing him up. I think Powell, in the current iteration of the roster, his minutes would be even more split now between 2 and 3, although I think it might shift more to the 3 and allow both Isaiah Dennis and Derek Dixon to play more of a 2, with maybe Dixon getting time at the 1 as somebody that has a little more point guard skills than Isaiah Dennis. In the portal, Carolina is not going to find a 1-for-1 replacement for Drake Powell. Part of that is Drake Powell's uniqueness as a player. There's just so much that he does in a variety of ways to affect winning, with his positional size, with his athletic capability, with his defensive capability, his ability to put the ball in the hole. I would love to see him be more aggressive, to hunt his shot more, etc., like that. But you're just not going to find a 1-for-1 replacement. So I'm okay just saying, all right, if I'm Jim Tanner and I'm Hubert Davis and I'm sitting down, I'm saying, all right, Hubert, tell me, Drake Powell's gone. Don't even think about you're trying to replace him. Look at the roster as it is. What do you need right now? Let's start from scratch. What's missing? If I'm Hubert Davis, shooting is the answer for me. Scoring is maybe the bigger answer for me, right? Like, there's been a lot of trepidation for a lot of people of, hey, we got some great players on our roster. What we don't have is a proven 15 points per game guy at the not just D1 level, but at the high major ACC D1 level. And so just even the last couple days on the show, on Tuesday's show, I talked about Andrei Stojakovic, and literally the news has been lately, like, because he's just been visiting Illinois, and all the conversation was around, hey, if Andrei Stojakovic commits to Illinois, obviously that's off the table before it even starts. But if he leaves Illinois and doesn't commit, there's possibility there, especially now that you've got starters minutes to sell, because to this point, all my Andrei Stojakovic conversation has been, you go get somebody like him if and only if Drake Powell leaves, or if Ven-Allen Lubin doesn't return. Well, Drake is gone right now. And whether he comes back or not, again, I'm not considering that right now. I'm just saying, what do we got to go get? And Joe Tipton tweeted out literally an hour before I started recording this with you all hanging out tonight. Happy Wednesday, by the way. What's up? He says, quote, several schools remain in contention for transfer Andrei Stojakovic following his visit to Illinois, double eyeball emoji. Meaning he did not commit to Illinois while he was there. I still think Illinois is in the lead for Andrei Stojakovic, but oh man, if I am Hubert Davis, I'm getting all in his earbuds to see about what he can do. Yes, again, he has not shot at either Stanford or Cal the way I think he's capable of shooting like he did in high school. But again, I compare it to the Harrison Ingram effect. Stojakovic, when he's surrounded by more talent, unlike what he was at Cal or Stanford, which he would be at Carolina, I think that allows him to shine. It takes weight off his shoulders. And yes, his usage comes up, but I think his usage goes down, but I think his efficiency would come up if he came to Carolina. I think that is a reality the Tar Heels could look at. And so there is that. There's also, you haven't heard it yet, but I encourage you to listen to tomorrow's show with Coach Rob. We literally led off the show by talking about Jameer Watkins. Just like Andrei Stojakovic, somebody else in the transfer portal last offseason that I really, really wanted to come to Carolina. He has entered again, and he's somebody that is an NBA level talent. And anytime you can get an NBA level talent to come back to school and be there, boy, I'd load up on that. Similar to Stojakovic, he's not shot the 3 ball at quite the level I would really want. Like, I'd love to see somebody at the 3 who's like 38% from 3. That'd be great. That's not what he's done. But man, can he score. And just like Stojakovic, somebody that has scored at the ACC level above 15 points a game. And he's done it 2 years in a row. And so that's what I'm looking for is somebody like that. I mean, maybe there's somebody out there, but those two guys I'm zeroed in on right now. Now, you got to look at international recruiting. You got to go look at all of this kind of stuff to see who else might be out there. I mean, maybe now you circle back around to somebody like Chad Baker-Mazara. Is he somebody you look at? What about RJ Lewis from St. John's that's transferring? How funny would it be to just trade RJ Lewis and Ian Jackson? It would be like the third trade Carolina's done this season. We've traded Caleb Love and Henry Vasar, right? Like there's all these trades we've done. And so why not go make that happen? Okay, one last place I want to go. I know there are a lot of comments, and I'm sure a lot of you guys have questions about everything that's going on. So I want to go and see what answers I can give to you, and we'll do that coming up in just a second. Okay, scrolling back up to the top here. Lots of doom and gloom. That's okay. I see a lot of people are with me, like Amar Williams right out of the gate. We have to put a full court press on Andre Stojakovic or Jameer Watkins. You're reading my mind, Amar. I'm right with you. And there's that. For those that might be coming in later, John Barnes says he didn't hire the agent, so we get a chance to come back if stuff don't work out. I'll say this again. And this is not a dig at John. It's just, remember, this is a new era where you are able to do things like that now and still come back. Those old structures are gone. There are still some things you got to be careful of, but there are certain agents you can get into and other things like that that would allow Drake to come back. And so that's the thing. Jan Ennis, or is it Jan? I think it might be Jan. Forgive me if it is. I want to get that. Asks a great question here. He says, I sure would like Drake to stay another year. Me too. And then goes on to say, how is Jae'lyn Withers able to be in the transfer portal? Just saw that moments ago. This is something I'm going to address on Friday's show I'm planning on, but this is a great time to go in and do it right here. You all might have seen this, but on Tuesday, the day the transfer portal was closing, a whole thrash of players that were out of eligibility, whether finishing up a fourth year or a fifth year, that technically don't have any eligibility, are entering the transfer portal. Ian Shefflin, for example, from Clemson, did this. The thing is, a lot of people are speculating that they can try to sue the NCAA right now or seek an injunction to get an extra year because of various things surrounding this, because of a lot of talk floating around about the NCAA just saying, hey, look, I know we did the COVID thing. Let's just make a fifth year a blanket thing. And so these guys are checking in to do it. Now, in Jae'lyn Withers' case, it's crazy because he's already been in college 57 years. And so it would be an extra. But I think a lot of these guys are just hedging their bets to say, in Jae'lyn Withers' case, for example, unless, something might change. But right now, Jae'lyn Withers isn't the level player that would go have a long career in the NBA or really any career in the NBA. He could probably go make a lot of money overseas if he wanted to. But because of NIL, a lot of college level players that don't project to NBA level players can make so much money in collegiate basketball right now in the NCAA that is literally life-changing money. I mean, you see how year after year that number keeps rising, that if I'm these guys, why would you not try to get one more year of eligibility while you have more earning power than you ever will the rest of your life? So they're doing this on the off chance that it gets approved, and then they can come back, whether to Carolina or elsewhere. And so that's why that happens. Great day to be a Tar Heel, but the acronym GDT Bath says he's definitely not ready for the draft. Meaning Drake. Parents and scouts kill these kids by hyping them up. Drake isn't an efficient shooter or scorer, good defensively, but does pick up stupid fouls. Here's the thing for me, and again, this isn't a dig at GT. Great day to be a Tar Heel. I'm of the mind that if you're an underclassman and you have any thought that you might be an NBA player, I encourage all of them to go test this process, because you get real hands-on feedback from NBA personnel to tell you, Drake Powell or Isaac Schade or whomever, this is directly what you need to work on so that you can ultimately come get a job with us, basically, right? Yes, there is the UAC, the Undergraduate Advisory Committee, that gets information for you, that rounds that up and sends it back to you. But even that's not the same as going and doing it in person. And Drake is somebody that he's going to impress in person because of what a great young man he is. And so I hear that sentiment from you, great day to be a Tar Heel, but there's also, why not go try this out and see what happens? And you never know. Literally all it takes is one team with in the first round to say, Drake Powell, we are going to take you. We guarantee it. And then you're in. That's all it takes. Now, again, I agree with you. I think Drake would be better served by coming back, being somebody who's more highlighted for Carolina offensively next year and doing those things. So I just wanted to point that out. OG Nobley says, man, I feel that. I thought UNC was looking like one of the better defensive teams this coming season. I hope he comes back. Yeah, we didn't talk about this. This is a painful side of it for me as well, OG Nobley. Like, you look at Seth Trimble and Drake Powell, and you look at what Caleb Wilson can do. You look at Henry Vasar's rim protection. It's like, oh my goodness. Carolina's defense could be utterly diabolical next year if they get bought in and connected. I just, that could be so great. And it still could if he comes back again. That's a thing. But remember to last year when Carolina was a 1 seed, it wasn't that they were this overwhelming, like 2009 offensive juggernaut. They were good offensively, but the calling card, the DNA, was how good Carolina was defensively. That started in the Jumpman Invitational against Oklahoma. Remember, that's where they really started taking off defensively. And I thought this team had a chance to be even better than that because of the individual pieces and the way that the collective came together to be something incredible. So I'm right with you, OG Nobley. That's a good thing. Kevin Butler, man, I think this is a great sentiment from you. At the end of the day, it's Drake's decision. I fully support him and wish him nothing but the best. With that being said, it's time to fill some slots, right? Like, that's so succinctly put with what I'm trying to get to. We want to cheer for Drake, both because we love him and we want to see him succeed, but also because a one and done, having success from North Carolina, going to the NBA and doing it, reflects positively on Carolina's recruiting. But also, Carolina got to have a team and they got to play well. So let's fill some slots. There's that. Brett Weeks says he said in his statement he is not coming back. No, he didn't. Go read it again. And I say that to Brett and everyone. Go read it again. There is nothing in that statement from Drake. He didn't say he's coming back, but he did not say he's coming back. And yes, again, as it says in Joe Tipton's statement, he's 100% focused on the draft and is intending to stay in. But you get there and you hear other information, you don't know. So we'll keep our eyes on it. All right. Look, lots more to talk about always with Carolina, but we've been here together 33 minutes. I'm sure you guys want to go spend the night with your families. So I'm going to get us out of here. I just want to say thank you as always for coming and hanging out on a weeknight. I know many of you are probably off. Maybe you're at church on a Wednesday night and you're watching this, or maybe you're mowing the lawn. I don't know what you're doing, but it is never lost on me how cool it is that we get to do this and hang out together. So I want to say a big thank you to all of you for being here. If you haven't subscribed to the show on YouTube, make sure you do that right now so you don't miss a second of Locked On Tar Heels. If you're not in our Discord that's got over 500 Carolina fans in there hanging out, we've been talking about this on there all day long. Great information, great chats, and great insights. Obviously, people losing their minds at times, but it's so much fun. And if you want to go even deeper with the show, have one-on-one conversation with me, join our Insiders program where you get that and lots of other perks as well. I've got next year's schedule up there and going. The whole non-con slates up there. Would love to see you in there. That link is also in the show notes. You guys, even on a tough day of information like this, always a great day to be a Tar Heel. We'll talk again tomorrow. Don't forget a great conversation with Coach Rob tomorrow where we talk about Jameer Watkins. We'll see you then. But for now, peace.